Hello, everyone. Just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. See the screen. Great. So we'll get started. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your morning or evening to learn a little bit more about the Carlson MBA. My name is Dana Daniele. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admissions and Recruiting here at the Carlson School. And we'll spend the next 30 to 45 minutes together. In any case, we'll get started here. So the Carlson School of Management really focuses on Be, Belong, Become as the core motto. B means when you apply to the Carlson School, we want you to be the high achievers that you already are. So we are looking for candidates that are both academically strong and professionally strong. And those are a couple of elements that we consider during the application process. When you come to the Carlson School, we want you to belong to a community of other like-minded future leaders. Community is something that we'll talk about a lot throughout the presentation, but it is something that is really important to us here at Carlson, whether it be your community in the Full-Time MBA program, your community at the Carlson School of Management, or the larger University of Minnesota, or community here in the Twin Cities or the state of Minnesota. So just kind of keep that in mind as we move through the rest of the presentation. And then when you graduate, we want you to become an ethical and innovative leader for the 21st century. So leaders are what we're training you for here at Carlson. And you'll see in our alumni base that we do have, several leaders throughout the corporate world, some nonprofit leaders, and even in the public sector as well. So what makes us different? I'm sure many of you on the line are considering a lot of different MBA programs. So these four items are really our differentiators between our program and other full-time MBAs that you might be looking at. So first of all, we do experiential learning. Unlike any other MBA program out there, you actually have the opportunity to get up to 18 months of experiential learning throughout the program, including an internship, and you're able to do what's called our enterprise programs. You're able to do that at least 2 full semesters, if not 3 full semesters. The enterprise programs we'll talk about in just a little bit, but just know that we have a really immersive required experiential learning program as part of the full-time MBA. So it is a requirement to graduate. We also were the first business school to require a global experience for every student. So we do recognize that in today's globalized economy, you can't really get away with being successful in the business world or the corporate world without having a global mindset. So you're able to do either a 2-week trip abroad, maybe a partial or a full semester abroad, or even taking a class here on campus with a global focus, but you'll have to fulfill some sort of global experience to graduate. Some of those 2-week trips will be more experiential learning based, where you're doing site visits, maybe working on a consulting project for a company here in the US looking to expand into China, for example. You can also do a more fully immersive true study abroad experience at one of our partner universities across the globe. And you're also able to connect with students at one of our partner universities across the globe without even leaving your seat in some classes. So a lot of really great opportunities here to expand your global horizons and global mindset. And again, that is a requirement to graduate, which does make us unique. We also have a small class size in the full-time MBA program. This year's class is about 88 students. Last year's was about 105. Every year, we'd like to have between 90 to 100 students in the class. And that small class size really allows us to have that unique community focus that I mentioned earlier. Within the A full-time MBA program, in that first semester, you're broken up into cohorts, and those cohorts are broken up into smaller core teams. So giving you a lot of opportunities to connect with your classmates, whether it be in group projects, whether it be in our student life. But the small class size really does allow you a lot of opportunities to build close relationships with your fellow classmates, who then will become your network when you graduate. And so I think that's really important. The other advantage of a small class size is the connections you're able to build with your faculty members. I'll talk more about our faculty in a little bit, but you're not just a number at Carlson to our faculty members. They'll know you by your name, by your first name. One of our faculty members has nicknames for everyone, and even alumni, she'll still recall their nicknames and personal information about them. So again, building a really tight relationship with our world-renowned faculty can only give you an advantage in your learning and also in expanding your network by the time that you graduate. And also on the career side, we have a fairly large career center relative to the size of our program, and there's no wait times to meet with our career center. So again, having that small class size gives you more advantages in terms of using those resources to the full opportunity. And finally, community. I've talked a little bit about that already. However, keep in mind that we are a collaborative environment as opposed to a competitive environment. And so that's sort of what we're looking for in students as well. So that willingness for teamwork, lifting up your fellow classmates rather than competing against them. And so having that community focus, I think, makes a really supportive and welcoming environment for all. So I mentioned our enterprises earlier, but they are essentially unique, one-of-a-kind consultant projects. So we have 4 options. Brand, consulting, and ventures are more consultants, mini consultancies, essentially. Funds is a little bit different, but in terms of brand, consulting, and ventures, every semester you'll be placed on a new project. Whether that be with a new company, maybe it's a nonprofit, maybe it's located here in the Twin Cities, it could be located elsewhere in the US or even internationally. But you're working under the guidance of the enterprise director, so using their expertise and guidance to help you solve whatever problem the company has come to the enterprise program with. Brands obviously will focus more on marketing, maybe new market development, maybe it's increasing sales for a particular product, but working on products likely that you've heard of or brands that you've heard of. It's not always going to be small or theoretical projects. The work that you do in all of the enterprises really has an impact on the company. So again, giving you some experience presenting to executives, using that creative thinking and problem solving side of your brain, while combining that with the theories that you learn in the classroom. So it's a great opportunity. Consulting is working with larger companies on a variety of different projects. So it could be supply chain and operations. It could, be working with a healthcare company, for example, maybe manufacturing, really all over the board. That one will be the most broad in terms of variety of projects you could get placed on. And ventures will be more small businesses and with a more entrepreneurial focus. Funds is very unique. Those are allowing students to practice asset management in real time. So we have about a $35, $36 million fund that the students manage. Actually, there's a fixed income and a growth fund. We're one of the only schools out there with a fixed income fund, so very unique opportunity. And you're, instead of working on consulting projects, when you're making investment decisions, you're working with the enterprise director and also with an advisory board of asset managers and investment bankers here in the Twin Cities. So you still get that face-to-face time or that industry connection, but they're helping you make investment decisions instead of you helping them on a particular project. So again, a really unique opportunity. We also, within the funds enterprise, focus on in ethical investing, so not just about the bottom line, but also making sure that you're making decisions that positively impact the community, the nation, or the globe. So again, a very, very great opportunity if you're specifically interested in asset management. With the enterprises, you have to choose one to do your first semester of your first year and your second semester of your second, or your first semester of your second year. And then for that final semester of your second year, you can apply to change your enterprise if you want. But there is some flexibility to change your enterprise before you graduate if that's something you're interested in. There's also overlap, however, so sometimes ventures and brands might have a joint project, consulting and ventures might have a joint project. So with the three consultancies, brand, consulting, and ventures, there is a little bit of overlap, which is nice. We also have 2 institutes on campus that are options for you to participate in. So the Medical Industry Leadership Institute has experiential learning. There is a medical device valuation lab that institute runs, and you can participate in that as an elective. Minnesota and the Twin Cities especially is very strong in the healthcare and the medical industry. So our Medical Industry Leadership Institute, or MILI, provides a lot of opportunities for students to engage firsthand with either medical device valuation. You could also do a full medical industry specialization. But MILI has won a lot of awards for innovation in healthcare through the work that our faculty does and the help that our students are able to provide to industry professionals. So again, even if you think you're not interested in healthcare, I still would recommend taking a MILI elective because it is such a unique opportunity to Carlson and something you might not be able to do after you graduate. So again, take advantage of every opportunity, I think, no matter which MBA program you go to, but specifically with MILI at Carlson. If there are any entrepreneurs out there, we do have the Gary S. Holmes Center for Entrepreneurship, and they're able to really help you get your business off the ground before you even graduate. We have a number of entrepreneurs that graduate from the program in all sorts of different industries. There's a brewery here locally, Fulton. I actually was just in New York City over the weekend, and Fulton beers are on tap in New York. So it's really becoming a national brand, but it started here in Minnesota. We have a graduate from last year who created a sport hijab for young Muslim girls and women who want to participate in sport, but their hijabs are getting in the way. So she partnered with another student here at the University of Minnesota to start this company, Asaya. I also saw Nike recently launched a sport hijab, but I'm pretty sure that our graduate did it first. So really exciting innovations happening out of Carlson. We have a real estate company, a military veteran started a military grade apparel company. There's a women's health resource network that has started from Carlson. So all sorts of different things. So you can use the resources of the Holmes Center for Entrepreneurship. There's the Minnesota Cup, which is the largest state-run entrepreneurship competition of its kind that you can participate in and compete for investments or money for your company. Many Carlson students have won, which is really exciting. We also offer a SAMS fellowship through the Holmes Center, which can fund a small business that has some sort of social mission. So again, just a lot of great opportunities. And even if you come to Carlson and you're not thinking about entrepreneurship, the network that you build, it may totally change your mind. So with the Asaya, the sport hijab company, Jamie Glover did not think she was going to become an entrepreneur, but before she knew it, she was really invested in starting this company and is doing that full time now. So great opportunities here. So I've spoken a little bit about our network, but we really are a global have a global alumni community. A question that I get often is, Carlson's a small program. Will my network be small when I graduate? And the answer to that is no. If you look at the slide here, we have 53,000 alumni in 95 countries, so in every corner of the globe, essentially. We especially have a strong alumni base here in the Twin Cities, but the Carlson brand and the University of Minnesota brand can really take you a long way in your career. I do think it's important, though, to build those strong relationships with your current classmates. However, alumni are really, really responsive to our prospective students and our current students. If you go to a big program with 500 students every year, you can imagine that the alumni of those programs might get a lot of requests from prospective students or current students. But our alumni typically always respond. I hear that time and time again from current students, and they're really helpful in helping you figure out the right path to moving forward, whether it be while you're in the program, while you're looking to apply to the program, or even if you're 10 years down your career and aren't sure about what the next move is. The alumni network is something that you're able to tap into. So again, I can't underscore how important our network is, and our network will be in terms of the career that you're going to develop soon. So in terms of our numbers, I've talked a lot about sort of those qualitative things that make Carlson unique, but I know a lot of you are looking at rankings to help you make your decisions. So the U.S. News and World Report ranking, which is probably the most common, we're 32nd, but I do want to highlight a couple of other things. So the Economist ranking, we actually rose quite a bit year over year. So we're 22nd in the United States and 32nd in the entire world for our full-time MBA program. So that's really exciting. We're really competing with the best of the best here at Carlson. Also, we have amazing faculty. So we're ranked second for best business faculty in the U.S., and that's specifically for their intellectual contributions. So the research that's coming out of the University of Minnesota is some of the most recent and the most influential within the business community here today. So we are constantly on our website posting new developments from faculty. So I encourage you to check that out because these are the people that you're going to be learning from essentially when you graduate or when you're in the program. And then in terms of careers, so we have great relationships with a lot of companies that you might have heard of. I'll get into specific industries in a little bit, but hopefully you recognize some of these names on this slide. Maybe they're companies that you're interested in working for, but we have a really strong business development team that goes out and builds relationships with new companies and also tries to maintain relationships with existing companies. If anyone's an international student on the line, I just wanted to highlight some of the companies that have hired international students in the past. We do have a focus on making sure that we're seeking new employer partners for our international students and making sure that our international students are employable when they graduate. So these are just some of the companies that have hired international students just within the last couple of years. Not a complete list by any means, but at least giving those international students on the line some reassurance that there are companies out there that have hired our students in the past and will continue to do that in the future. In terms of other companies, so there are the highest level of corporate engagement and hiring for H-1B are listed here. So the biggest ones that I've seen recently have been Microsoft and Amazon, so especially in the tech industry, but we place international students in consulting roles at companies like Bain, BCG, and Deloitte, and in rare cases in companies like General Mills or Ecolab. And then some smaller companies have also been open to hiring international students as well. So those are listed on the slide as well. some of you may be wondering, all right, this all sounds great, but I'm still a little concerned about moving to Minnesota. But I wanted to highlight some of the great things about Minneapolis-St. Paul. So we're located in Minneapolis, but they call our community the Twin Cities because Minneapolis and St. Paul are right next to each other. Essentially, the Mississippi River is dividing us in half, but we're a great community to live in. In terms of business, we have 18 Fortune 500 companies here. We're the third best state for business in the United States, and we have the lowest unemployment rate in the U.S. right now, us in Nashville. So this is all really great news for any of you job seekers on the line, and I'm assuming that's all of you because otherwise, why are you applying for an MBA? But one of the statistics that I've heard recently is that within the next couple of years, there will be more open jobs and there are qualified people to fill them. And that's really saying something because the community here is really highly educated. So we're a fast-growing, thriving business community, which is a great environment for job seekers. But if you still are like, I don't know if I want to move there, I don't know what it's like in Minneapolis-St. Paul, I can tell you that the old joke that people constantly make is that it's really hard to convince people to move to the Twin Cities, but it's even harder to get them to leave. We have cold winters, but we also have wonderful summers, and people are outdoors all year round. We're actually one of the healthiest cities in the United States because people remain active no matter what the weather is. So hopefully that will inspire you to remain active if you come here as well. We do have 179 parks and beaches. Minnesota, our nickname is the land of 10,000 lakes, and there are at least 15 to 20 within driving distance of the Twin Cities and many within walking distance of where you might be living. So a lot of great activities you can do on those lakes year round, from swimming and kayaking and sailing in the summer to ice fishing and cross-country skiing in the winter. We also have the second most theater seats per capita in the United States, so we're just behind New York City, but there's a really active and vibrant arts and culture scene here. And we also have a wonderful music scene as well. Prince, hopefully some of you have heard of Prince. I'm assuming you all have. But Husker Du, The Replacement, Soul Asylum, these are all bands that call Minneapolis Twin Cities home. So if you're interested in arts or culture or music, there's a lot of really great things to do here on that front. And also something I wanted to add is I'm a huge foodie. And I've seen within the last couple of years chefs from New York and Chicago moving here and opening up amazing restaurants. So also a great restaurant scene here in the Twin Cities as well. So I mentioned the weather a little bit. And if you are looking at other schools in the Midwest or in the northern parts of the United States, we're really on par with, Ann Arbor, Ithaca, and Madison in terms of temperature. Yes, for some reason, we're known as being super cold, but we're not really that cold relative to some of our programs, some of our competitors, I would say. I also add, though, that it is super sunny here in the Twin Cities. So if you look at schools in other places in the Midwest, you won't have as many sunny days as you do here in the Twin Cities. So even if it's cold out, having that sunshine, I think, really makes all the difference. But if you're still concerned about it, we do have underground tunnels here at the University of Minnesota. We call them the Gopher Tunnels. And then skyways. So we're really well set up to handle winter and cold weather to make it bearable for you. And of course, for any international students on the line, everywhere has central heating. So it's bearable inside, definitely, during the colder months. All right, so a little bit more about our faculty. So I mentioned our rankings for national rankings, but a couple of other things on here. I wanted to highlight that we have 2 of the world's 50 best business school faculty, so Professor Axa here and Miles Shaver, and they are incredible, and they will know you by name if you take their classes. So The ability to access some of the best faculty in the world is again, something that will really enrich your business school experience and also enrich your network. So I've talked a lot about this as well, but just wanted to put it here on the slide, lay it all out for you so that way you could just take it in a little bit more. Okay. So in terms of outcomes, so we've talked a lot about the program, but wanted to highlight a little bit more about our outcomes. So Carlson has some of the highest placement rates. We have this year, class of 2017 was 96%. Last year was 97%. And that, by the way, was the highest placement rate out of any U.S. business school. And last year, it was 100% of our international students as well were placed. So really incredible career services that happen here at Carlson. So we have 4 professional coaches and 15 adjunct coaches that are able to meet with you one-to-one. One of our coaches works just with international students as well. So if that applies to you, that's a really great opportunity to work with someone who was an international student herself, and she can really help maximize your opportunities here in the U.S. All of our class had internships. An average salary for that internship was close to $39 an hour. And if you do get a job offer when you graduate, sometimes that comes with a signing bonus. And so, there are ways to make the program work financially. If you can get through that first year of the program, you'll be earning a pretty handsome salary during that summer on your internship, theoretically. So that's really exciting. In terms of where our graduates go, most of our graduates go into consulting or marketing roles, and this employment by function here, that does change a little bit year over year, but generally speaking, those are the biggest areas that we see our graduates going into, with a little bit going into finance and a little bit going into technology or operations. In terms of industries, we generally place consumer product goods, healthcare, the medical industry, manufacturing a little bit, financial services, consulting, and some nonprofit, but not a ton in nonprofit. So, and then outside of the classroom, you're able to engage with a lot of professional groups to help you find jobs. So on the bottom there's organizations like National Black MBA, Reaching Out, Forte, and even if you don't necessarily affiliate with any of these groups, in some cases you're still able to participate in these national conferences and find employment or go on interviews at those conferences. So some great opportunities outside of campus to engage in careers. We do host a lot of professional events on campus as well. A lot of the employers on the earlier slide do come to campus to recruit or have interviews. We sometimes host some local events here in the Twin Cities. We also go take our students out to the West Coast, the East Coast to meet with companies headquartered out there. So we really do a lot in terms of getting our students in front of different opportunities. So I would encourage you as an MBA applicant to remain open, to try a lot of things, to set up a lot of networking meetings, and also to attend a lot of different events, because I do think, being creative and being persistent and going after as many opportunities as you can will help you really achieve those employment numbers. But outside of the professional development, you're also able to enrich your learning through student life. So we have case competitions on campus, another great way to earn some scholarship dollars potentially, and also expand your network, because in some cases, these case competitions are live cases. So you're presenting your results to existing companies who might choose you as the winner and then implement your strategy. So great opportunity for a number of different reasons. We also have 22 student clubs with 100+ student leadership opportunities. So some are more professionally focused, some are more industry focused, some maybe just for fun. But if you're looking to develop your resume with leadership, because we're such a small class size and because we have such an active student life, if you're looking for leadership, there is not a limit in terms of the number of opportunities available to you there. Also, if there are any international students on the line, I just wanted to highlight some of the services that we can provide to international students. So the University of Minnesota and the Carlson School is really welcoming environment to international students. We actively encourage international students to apply to our campus. And so we're able to provide you support along the way in a number of different areas, from initial visa application all the way through relocating to campus and any issues or problems you might have here on after. So just wanted to highlight that in case that applied to anyone on the line. All right, so getting down more to the specifics about what the academics of the program look like. So the Full-Time MBA is a 2-year MBA, so 4 semesters with an internship in between the first and the second year. It's a fully immersive program, so you would be required to relocate here to the Twin Cities, and that first semester is actually 20 credits. It gets a little bit easier from there, but it is an intensive program. Coupled with the theoretical classes or the academics, like I mentioned before, you have the opportunity and are required to participate in the enterprises for a minimum of 2 semesters with the option to add on a 3rd semester. And again, like I mentioned before, you have to complete a global experience before you graduate, whether that be a short-term 2-year trip, a partial semester, or a full semester abroad, or whether that be a global class that you take here locally, which we refer to as GLOCAL. Before you can take any electives in the Full-Time MBA, you do have to take core courses. So that first semester will be 20 credits of core courses, and then you are taking more core courses in your second year or your second semester, but that second semester opens up more to allow you to take electives and do your enterprise. But essentially, you have to complete all these requirements before you move on to electives, but giving you a really broad, solid foundation to allow you to then go and specialize in whatever it is you're interested in. Once you get through the core courses, then you're able to take different specializations. You can choose between entrepreneurship, finance, information systems, management, marketing, medical industry, and supply chain. There is room in your schedule to take electives on top of your specialization classes. So you're able to pick and choose and customize the program a little bit to meet your needs. And on top of that, you're able to pick your enterprise to either complement or contrast what you're doing in your specialization. So if you're interested in a number of different things, you should be able to figure it out while you're at Carlson. All right, so if you're interested in applying, we are looking for students who are academically strong, professionally strong, and a good fit for the program. So in terms of the numerical side, or so the quantitative side of what we look at, our median GMAT is a 690, median GPA is around a 3.4, 3.5. And our average work experience is between 4 to 5 years. So those are the big 3 things that we look at when we're crafting. Those are the big 3 quantitative things that we look at. I also want to highlight that our program is really good for career switchers. So we don't necessarily look for candidates with strict business backgrounds. We've accepted organic farmers in the program and actors, along with marketing professionals and finance professionals and entrepreneurs. So it's a really big mix in terms of where our candidates are coming in. We also have a big veteran population, U.S. military veterans, and we're constantly ranked as one of the best schools out there for military veterans. But either way, if you're looking to make a career change, the Carlson MBA is a really good option for you. And if you have an untraditional background, the Carlson MBA is a really good option for you as well. So in terms of how we look at your application, so we do review academic strength, professional strength, and fit, like I mentioned before, and try to do a really good holistic review. So we weigh the quantitative and the qualitative parts of your application to make a decision. We do require online application, personal statement, professional resume, 2 letters of recommendation. So you enter in the contact information for your references, and we mail them a form that they fill out and send back to us. We require an unofficial copy of your transcripts from every single post-secondary institution that you attended. And we do require the GMAT or the GRE, but we need those test scores sent to us. And for international students, we also require proof of English proficiency. So if you attended a university that was taught in English, we can waive the TOEFL or the IELTS requirement if we have proof that that university was taught in English. And we can talk to you on a case-by-case basis if you have questions about that. Once you submit all of those documents, we will review your application and then decide whether or not you're invited to interview. Interviews are by invitation only, and we don't interview every single candidate that applies. I also want to add that by attending this webinar today, we will waive your application fee so long as you apply with the same email address that you used to register for this webinar. So keep that in mind, that if you are interested in applying to Carlson, you will have an application fee waiver. We have one more deadline for international applicants coming up on February 1st, and then one last deadline for domestic candidates on April 1st. So if you're interested in applying for fall 2018, you still definitely have time to apply. We do require, however, a complete application at the deadline. So that would include official test scores, and letters of recommendation submitted. So if you're interested in applying to Carlson, I would recommend submitting your official test scores and entering in your reference information as soon as you can to give your letter of recommendation or your recommenders and the test score enough time to get added to your application before the deadline. If you are wanting to apply for fall 2019 or later, we also have a November 1st and a December 1st deadline. So we always will have those 4 deadlines. It's been the same for as long as I've worked here, and no changes on those deadlines. However, I would recommend just double checking on the website or with a recruiter before you decide to apply if it is for a future term. We do have scholarship opportunities, so most of our scholarships are merit-based, so really looking at that GMAT or GRE score. But I wouldn't recommend rushing your application to meet a deadline or to meet a particular start term unless you're confident in the strength of your application. So in other words, I really do recommend applying with the strongest application you feel is possible, because that will maximize not only your chances for admission into the program, but also your chances for scholarship. And again, if you're uncertain about whether or not you're ready to apply, if you'd like to discuss your profile with someone, you can always email us, and we're happy to do a one-to-one appointment with you later on. However, even with scholarships, most candidates still have to take out a loan or personal resources. U.S. citizens and permanent residents do have the option to apply for federal financial aid, and international students end up taking some non-governmental loans or private loans and using personal resources to make it work for them. But again, like I said, we've got great return on investment. So even if you end up having to fund the MBA with loans or personal resources, we do see really high and fast return on investment for our graduates. So, if you look at the salary increase you might get out of the program, the high number of job placement rates that we have year over year, and the internship salary, we are one of the best in the country for return on investment. In fact, Bloomberg Business Week ranked us as third for return on investment, so can't get any better in that respect. All right, so for international students on the line, if anyone hasn't applied for an F1 visa before, I just wanted to quickly highlight that. So the process for that visa would be admission into the program. We would send you a dollar figure for what you would need to present in a financial certification. So that would be liquid funds in a checking account or a savings account, in terms of a official statement from the bank. Once you demonstrate those funds and send the financial certification statement and a passport that will be valid 6 months after the start of classes, the university then will issue the I-20 and you can go on ahead and apply for the F1 visa. All right, so tuition. So for out-of-state students, it's around $56,000 per year, including all total expenses, and international students, it's around the same, just a few $100s more. So this would be the raw cost without any scholarship taken into account. And we do, in that total cost, include an estimate for textbooks, health insurance, student services fee, and some other fees. So, all right. Well, I've talked for your ear off for the last 45 minutes or so, but I did want to see if there are any questions on the line. If you want to type it into the chat box, if possible. Otherwise, you can feel free to email us at ftmba@umn.edu, and we will get in touch with you as fast as we can. Those inboxes are monitored on a daily basis, so we usually have a fairly quick response time. But like I mentioned, there are a lot of opportunities to continue to engage with the Carlson School. Hopefully this webinar was just a starting point for you. You're able to engage with current students in the program. You're able to have a one-to-one appointment with a recruiter. If you're ever here locally, you're able to do a class visit or even attend an event. So a lot of really great opportunities to engage in Carlson. So I do see some questions, so I'm going to take a look at those. So in terms of profile questions, I see someone asked a question about personal profile. I would suggest that you contact a recruiter directly, especially if you have concerns about your GMAT score or getting your recommenders to apply on time. So emailing ftmba@umn.edu with questions about your profile. If you miss a deadline, it may be possible to grant an extension or give you a little bit of leeway. So again, that would be more on a one-to-one basis. We wouldn't grant it for every student. However, especially with the last deadline for international students coming up, it's possible that there is some leeway, but like I mentioned, we wouldn't grant it in every instance. And for those of you who started the application already, but have a different email address that you'd like to use, different than this webinar, again, just email us. We can definitely apply the waiver to your application. You just need to let us know in an email, and we would be more than happy to grant your application fee waiver. And again, in terms of specific questions about your profile, please do email us. We do not provide any sort of GMAT or GRE test exceptions. It is required for every single applicant. So an official GMAT or GRE score is required for every single applicant. And one other thing I wanted to mention is candidates who may be unsure about GMAT versus GRE, for us, we accept both of those exams equally for scholarship and for the application process. My only concern or only thing that you should be aware of is if you're interested in a consulting career at a big company like a Deloitte, Bain, BCG, etc., you might be better off taking the GMAT because those companies will look for your GMAT score in the application, in their application. But you can always take that GMAT later on if you decide later that consulting is something you want to do. But keep that in mind that from an admission standpoint, we treat them equally. So are there any additional questions on the line? I have a couple of minutes left, so happy to continue to take questions. Just type that in the chat box. All right, well, I don't see any other questions coming in. As I mentioned, any personal questions, we are more than happy to answer. We are available at ftmba@umn.edu. For those that are international, we're happy to do Skype appointments. So again, any questions about your application or your profile, just let us know. But I want to thank everyone once again for joining us today. This was a really great opportunity to chat with you, and hopefully a great opportunity for you to learn about the program. And hopefully I will be seeing your applications come through. All right, please do stay in touch. We will be in touch with you as well. But in any case, I look forward to hopefully having you as part of the Carlson MBA in the future.